And we're back. And who'd have thought, Dan, that here we are at the end of the night. And we saved a little something special for this hour because we're gonna kind of do 7 at 7.
That's funny. I like that.
Nice.
I like that. That's very good. Yeah. We've had an absolutely remarkable day. And it only makes sense that we end this wonderful telethon of Trek Talks with having what we're calling top billing. We're calling you top billing, Jeri. I got to say it. It's Jeri Ryan. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Bill, I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'll let you ask the question that you always like to ask our guests.
The first question we've asked Jeri in these weirdest of times: how are you? How's your family? Is everybody safe? Everybody healthy? How are you all doing?
Thank you. Yes, we thank God are all safe and well. This is nuts. Nuts. Yeah. Our show is currently shut down right now for a week.
Right.
It's crazy. There are a lot of cases of COVID going around, and we're just being incredibly careful. We're back to sort of the way we were when the pandemic began. Sort of distancing and keeping doors and windows open and not really socializing, not really going anywhere. Does
that make it hard to shoot a show like that? I mean, obviously, these characters have these interpersonal relationships, but I have to believe that some of the experience is bonding with your fellow actors between scenes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make it much more distant?
We're physically on set together. So,
sure.
We're the way that our show shoots and the way the studio and the stages are set up, we're far away from our trailer. So it's not like, in a lot of shows you shoot your scene and then you go to your trailer and you wait for the next shot or whatever. We stay on set. So we're together anyway, just with masks. But it's scary. It's really, really scary because, while the rest of the crew has to keep their masks on, we don't have a choice. We have to take ours off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a scary.
Well, we certainly hope that you remain safe and that things can somehow get back to normal at some point. First question I have for you, Jeri, is it's been 20 years now since Voyager's finale. Finale was in 2001. So now we're looking at 20 years later. Did you ever imagine, and this has probably been something that's been asked you 100 times, did you ever imagine when you finished Voyager and 7 that 20 years later you would be invited back into the family to reprise your role that so many people fell in love with you with 20 years ago?
Never in a million years. Never in a million years would I have thought that I'd be playing 7 again. And she's been such a delightful surprise.
One of the things that I remember is the first time that we saw a trailer for Picard. I was actually at a friend's summer place on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire, and the trailer was played at I think it was a Comic-Con, and as soon as it was played, we got a phone call from somebody, and they played on their phone for us the recording of the crowd during the screener. And the amount of screaming that took place when you were seen on that screen for the first time was like nothing I had ever heard. It was amazing. And what was it like for you when you were first contacted about the idea of having Seven return and what her character was going to be like during that first season?
Well, when it was first brought up to me, I kind of thought it was a joke because it was a dear friend of mine who was originally one of the showrunners, and then he ended up leaving before we started shooting. But stuff, and he knows me very well, so he knew that the appropriate time to broach the topic would be at the Hollywood Bowl after a few glasses of champagne. That's when he first brought it up, and I laughed and thought it was, a joke. And he said, "No, I'm serious. I really want to bring Seven back." And every time I would see him, so he would sort of bring it up again for the next 6 or 8 months or something like that. And then I didn't really think anything of it until I was at, I think it was the Emmys or something, presenting a special award to Star Trek for their 50th whatever anniversary. And so a couple actors from all the different shows were there, and I was standing behind Alex Kurtzman getting ready to go on stage. And he turned around and said, "Oh, so we've been talking a lot about Seven in the writer's room." I was like, "What?" All right. Well, yes, it's real. Okay. Yeah. And it was scary. It was scary as hell. Because that's a lot of time that's passed. Mm-hmm. And she's been through a lot. And yes. So trying to figure out who this character is, because she was so specific for those 4 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having been raised as a Borg and only having those 4 years of sort of developing her humanity and mm-hmm. So to cut 20 years later was scary, just to because I wanted to make sure that we were true to the character. I wanted her to she obviously had to be incredibly different because she's mm-hmm. been human now for 20 years and dealing with the way not only humanity but other species relate to her because she's visibly still part Borg. And so that's had an effect on her. But it was really, really important to me that as different as she is, that the fans still felt Seven and could still see glimpses of Seven. Mm-hmm. And so I was really, really, really thrilled to hear the fan reaction after the first appearance at Seven when she beams into the ship. Mm-hmm. And everybody on Twitter was talking about the little head tilt. Like, oh my God, there she is. So that made me feel like, okay, I think this is going to work.
Yeah. It had to be a very interesting experience to go from Voyager, which I'm sure was a very different set than Picard. Most notably because, you've got Patrick Stewart there now. Obviously I'm not an actor. I'm a systems engineer by day. But I have to imagine that anybody getting a chance to work with Patrick Stewart might be a little intimidated at first. Is that possible?
I wasn't intimidated. I was happy. I was thrilled to work with him.
Oh yeah.
And he's an easygoing just guy. So we kind of hung out and chatted. And Jonathan Frakes. Okay, that's probably what helped. Jonathan Frakes was directing that episode as well. So Frakesy was on set, and Frakes is one of my favorite human beings on the entire planet. And so the fact that he was there, and the love that they have for each other, and the love that Frakesy and I have for each other, and that comfort level, and I knew that I was in good hands. Couldn't be in better hands.
Let me ask you: did you just say Frakesy?
Yes,
I'm just going to write that down for the next time I talk to him. Hold on 1 second.
Mental note made there. That's going to be in an email.
You may never forget for that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you, Jeri.
Jonathan. I'm so used to calling Frakesy.
There you go. Let me ask you this. Of course, we've seen her in season 1. We will see her in season 2, but we're not going to go there. How much input do you, as the person who plays Seven, how much input do you have with the writers into her backstory of what we've seen so far and what she has become over that space of time that we didn't see her after the finale of Voyager?
The writers have been very open. I'm not a writer. I don't pretend to be a writer. I'm not the actor who goes in there and, I'm going to pitch this story for my character. That's not me. Mm-hmm. We have writers who are trained to do this, and this is their profession, and they're good at it, and I let them do it. I give my thoughts if there's something that I don't agree with, or that I have a problem with, or have questions about, and they were very, very, very generous with their time in the beginning to sort of talk me through stuff and any questions I had and fill me in on what her story had been, which I love. I love all of the details of what she's gone through and her strength and her resilience, and how all of that has made her who she is and who she's continuing to become.
It's really exciting to see the development. It's rare that we get the kind of opportunities that we've gotten with Star Trek Picard to revisit these characters now, years on down the road, because we're used to characters growing over an arc over somewhere between 4 and 7 seasons, depending on the series.
Right.
And now to sort of get this, this resumption after a long pause, is really kind of amazing, because I think it just further displays the humanity of these people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As a viewer, I love it. I think Picard season 1 was probably one of my favorite seasons of Star Trek, simply just because of the human growth. And this is all about the human adventure, right? So
yeah. And what's cool about it that's different, I think, which took a lot of people, I think, a bit of getting used to, because Star Trek traditionally was a network show.
Yep.
So it's episodic, and you have to wrap it up neatly. You can do a 2-parter, but basically the character arc in that story ties itself up at the end of each episode. Because that's just the nature of episodic television and syndication and things like that. They need to be able to just have freestanding episodes that they can show. Because we're streaming, and because it's only a 10-episode season, it's a very different way of storytelling. So basically it's one giant long episode for the season. Yeah. So our character's story continues. It doesn't wrap up neatly every episode. It develops until the end. And that's the character arc for the story.
And that's something that I actually was gonna ask you. So excellent segue. 20 years ago, episodic television versus today, 10-episode arc. Which do you like better if you were to compare them? Which is more your thing that you like to do?
I mean, there's good things and bad things about both. I like different aspects of both. The schedule is nice on 10 episodes. The money's better on 26 episodes. But it's fun to tell a whole story each week, but I really like the chance to make it a big, long through line throughout the season. I really think that's pretty cool. Yeah. It's the first time I've gotten to do that.
Speaking of big, long through lines, I'm going to skip away from Star Trek a little bit to another show that Dan and I are quite fond of, and that's Bosch.
Yes.
I loved your season of Bosch.
Mm-hmm.
With your Veronica Allen. It's such a well-told story every season. Of course, Titus Welliver is amazing. Of course, you worked with him before on Voyager.
Yeah.
It must have been kind of nice to kind of get back to working in scenes with him now years later.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And he's such a brilliant actor. And I was so, so thrilled for him when this role came up for him, because he's just so good, and he's so perfect in the role.
He is. One of the things that I love to do as a fan of Star Trek for so many years is when I'm watching a show and I'll see someone and I'm like, oh, he was in episode blah, 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 or she was in episode blah, blah, blah. And it drives my wife nuts. But to the reaction of when you don't have a guest star from Star Trek that you see on another show, you have a star. So when you showed, I had no idea you were going to be in season 2 of Bosch. It was something we came on to Bosch, by accident. Actually, I think Bill mentioned it. So we watched season 1. And then when you came in on season 2, I got to say, I'm not embarrassed to admit it. That was a fanboy moment for me. It was when Jeri Ryan shows up on Bosch, and I'm the biggest Star Trek fan as I am, seeing you show up. And I got to say, it's so weird, might not be the right word, to see someone who are so used to playing a specific character a certain way, to see you the way you are in that. You're not a nice person in that season. It's great. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm glad Bill brought that up, because I wasn't sure if I was going to.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
It's, as I think about the various things that I've seen, you've had a chance to work with Frakes many times. I know you worked with him a couple times on Leverage. And simply just by calling him Frakes, you mentioned he's one of your favorite people in the world. He's one of our favorite people in the world. He was one of the first people to respond to doing this particular event.
Aww.
We did a live stream with him it's coming up on 2 years ago now, when COVID first started, to raise money for Feeding America, and he agreed to do it with us without ever having met or talked to us before. I think one of the things that amazes me about Star Trek family is the fact that fandom and the people who work in Star Trek are kind of wired with the sense that the needs of the many really do outweigh the needs of the one. And it really is kind of remarkable. You obviously have done conventions in the past. I think I saw you at Vegas one year. It was early on Sunday morning, and allegedly I might have been a little hungover.
Nasty rumor. I would never believe it.
You can't prove that. There was no video.
No.
And I was always struck by the people asking you questions. And I think one guy asked you to verify that he had bought a costume that you wore on stage once. But by and large, Star Trek fans are kind.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what impresses me about today, about conventions. Are you hoping to get back to conventions soon? Is that the kind of thing that you think they're going to let you do as Picard starts to roll out season 2?
I mean, I gotta be honest. I'm not going to be rushing to get into huge crowds of
Sure,
people
right.
Sure.
soon. Because I'm scared. This is a lot. This is a lot. So I think a lot of things are going to change going forward. Because I don't think this is going to be the last pandemic, assuming we even get to an end of this one in the near future. I think this is going to happen more and more. And so I think that the way we dealt with things, large crowds of people, things like that before, I don't know that I'll be comfortable going back to doing things exactly the same way anymore.
Sure.
Like photo ops, which, it was fun, and you put your arms around the guy and they hug you and they're so excited and it's so easy to make people happy. And they're so warm and so sweet. You shake everybody's hand. I'm not going to be shaking hands.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to be face to face, cheek to cheek with people, hundreds and hundreds of people. I don't know. I mean, I don't see that happening in the near future, certainly. I would love to say that we can get back to that at some point, but I don't think it's going to be soon.
I got to say, Jeri, listening to you talk about that, watching news and shows and everything, hearing you talk about how serious you believe this is, which I believe 100% with you, as does Bill, to be able to hear someone talk about that and really be honest about it like this is really a breath of fresh air because of all of the crap that's out there playing it down. Yeah. So hearing from someone like you, who has such a huge fan base, it's great to be able to get that out there, that it is a very, very serious thing. And that people have to be careful and that our life is going to be different moving forward.
Everybody keeps talking about it's get back to normal, get back to normal. Normal didn't work.
Right. Okay. And now look where we are. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we have to be smart and we have to be considerate and we have to not just think about ourselves and what's easy and what's fun and my freedom and blah, blah, blah. We got to be responsible and be an actual citizen of the world and take care of each other while you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones. I mean, it's not that hard, but we have to do it and people have to agree to do it. Get your frickin' vaccine, get your booster. No, it's not going to prevent you from catching this now because too many damn people let it spread and won't take care of it. But it's keeping people out of the hospital and it's keeping people from dying.
Yes.
Yep,
so
absolutely
do it. Wear a mask. It's not that hard. It's not that big an imposition. Surgeons do it for 14-hour surgeries. They can breathe. They're not dying. They're not suffocating. They're not getting carbon monoxide poisoning. That's why the masks were developed. Just do it. Be considerate. Be smart. Let's get through this. Anyway, sorry, that was my soapbox.
No,
great soapbox.
It's very frustrating because I miss seeing people.
Yeah.
I want to see you. And like mentions, like we're talking about, I have to be able to see fans and hug fans and shake people's hands, but I can't now. And I don't know when I will feel safe doing that because I don't know who's taking precautions. And it's a different world for sure.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. Dan and I were just talking the other day. It was 2 years ago this past week. We were in LA for the Picard premiere.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right.
On the red carpet and you walked just right on by us, but that's okay.
I'm like, Jeri. Oh, okay.
Oh, there she goes.
Oh,
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Awful.
I'm just messing with you. But no, I totally get what you're saying. It's this, I would love for things to get back to normal. I've been working from home for 2 years. And as much as I don't mind working from home because my wife works right behind me.
Oh, that's so cool.
It would be nice to be able to do things again someday. And I think that's the most frustrating part. We were supposed to go to Star Trek Las Vegas this past summer, Dan and I, as
was
Trek
I.
Geeks. Yeah.
And London and Germany.
Yep.
And like there were, I think, 6 conventions in the last year that.
Yeah.
And ultimately we canceled. I know there's a cruise coming up, and I'm not booked on that.
Oh my
Let
God.
me tell you that.
I don't know if I'll ever take a cruise again because they're floating
Same.
petri dishes.
That's what I thought to begin with. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeri, I'm going to ask you a question, which has probably been asked 100 times, but since this is the first time talking, it's going to be the first question for us. So of course you are legendary in your role as Seven. Absolutely. 4 years of great episodes. As a person who was on the show and working those ungodly hours that we hear were the case back then, do you have something that stands out in your mind as your favorite moment of being 7 of 9 in the Star Trek universe? Back then, not for Picard.
I mean, there are acting moments where you read a script and there's a scene that's just beautiful and little character nuances that are really beautiful. But really, and there's not one specific moment that I can point to, but it's a number of sort of fan interactions, especially toward the beginning when the character was new.
Yeah.
And meeting people and just seeing how moved they were to meet me and to see the person who plays the character in person. And I get it, because I have no cool. When I'm a fangirl, I cry. Oh, I'm a mess. Like Sidney Poitier, who God bless him, was one of the reasons I became an actor.
Oh wow.
This is a side story. Sorry.
No, go right ahead.
One year I was presenting, because I was on a show playing a teacher. I was on a show called Boston Public. And so I was presenting at the Milken Foundation Teacher Awards. And I'm at the dinner and I sit down at my table and I'm getting ready. They're getting ready to serve dinner. And I look up and Sidney Poitier is sitting across the table from me. And I started hyperventilating. And I'm like face down on my plate. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Okay. And then I sort of psyched myself up and said, you are not going to be a coward. You're going to go over there and you're going to be an adult and you were going to tell him what an honor it is to meet him and how much he means. And I got up my courage and I walked around the table and I said, he took my hand and I said, Mr. Poitier, I just want to tell you that you're the reason I became an actor and I love you so much. Like ugly crying, sobbing. And he could not have been more gracious and more lovely. And he took my hand in both of his and he said, and it is a pleasure to meet you. Oh. And that is just on the basis of your work, which of course is bullshit. He had no idea who I was. But just, he couldn't have been lovelier. And then we had to go out after the awards, now that I'm like tear stained and a mess, and take pictures with the winners. And he came around and put his hand on my back and ushered me out. He was just amazing. Oh, so great. I get it. I get it when people get emotional and worked up, and it's great being able to see people and touch people, and it's so easy. We're lucky, those of us who are in this sort of job and universe and everything, because it's so easy to make someone happy. It's not hard to do. And it's very gratifying to see people's reactions and to meet them. So hopefully we can get back to it again.
It's really nice to hear that, because I'm going to go on a little side story about that you built yourself up to go to meet someone like that. One of the things that I've told Bill that I'm always sorry I did not do is at a convention, which we're there to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Is I always wanted to go and talk to Aaron Eisenberg, and I always wanted to go up and talk to Renee Auberjonois. And I never did, because because whenever they went up near the table, it looked like they were busy. I didn't want to bother them. I don't want to get, I'll get their autograph. I'll talk to them later. And now look where we are. We can't do that now. So for those people who are listening that are at conventions and you want to say hi to that person,
that's why we're there. So we're there to
absolutely
see you guys.
Yep. You did it with Sidney Poitier, who, oh my God, Sidney Poitier.
Exactly.
So yes, we can definitely do that.
Well, I can do it. You can do it.
Absolutely.
Well, the takeaway here is, Jeri, at some point you're going to have to deal with the two of us at a convention, and you may regret those words.
Absolutely.
Because we're an acquired taste. So I have a random question for you. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have seen some time at home during this pandemic. My wife and I think, are on a continual rewatch of The Office and have been for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you got the day off. Let's say you're going to Netflix and chill. What are you queuing up?
We're probably on the third time through of Schitt's Creek.
Nice.
My family loves that show with a burning passion. My daughter sits beside us every episode and just recites every single line. She has all of them memorized. Oh, it's brilliant. Just brilliant. The most brilliant performances.
I've started watching it. I haven't gotten very far in it.
Well, what's funny, sorry, but my husband and I, because everybody had been talking about Schitt's Creek, we came to it kind of late. And so I one night started to watch it and I got like an episode and a half and I was like, I can't watch this. I turned it off. My husband, like a month later, somebody else was talking about it again. So you really need to watch this. He did the same thing. He got like an episode and a half, turned it off. And then more people were talking about it. They said, no, you just got to, because you're going to love these characters. I was like, I don't like these unlikable people and I don't want to watch that. And they said, no, but they grow and they're wonderful, blah, blah, blah. So we said, all right, let's just try it. We had both turned it off at the exact same scene. Isn't that bizarre?
That's crazy.
Very bizarre. Yep.
Yeah. And then as soon as we got past that scene, then we were like, oh my God, this is genius.
What episode was that? Because that might be where I am, which is why I haven't picked it up yet. Okay.
Something about the doors and something like some door. I don't remember what it was, but and then all of a sudden you get past that and it's just, they're brilliant. Hi, John Billingsley. I can see you.
Oh God. Hi, John.
I just came in. I know. This is what Denobulans do. We show up at the party late in the game. We drink all the food, and then we split. It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you guys for doing this. And everybody, please donate if you haven't yet.
Oh, yes. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because we're going to wrap up after Jeri. We are $1,000 away from hitting $30,000. Rod Roddenberry, for those of you who weren't watching, was going to match up to $30,000.
Wow.
We can get 1,000. Yeah, we get $1,000. Yes, sir.
Let me tell you this. On behalf of Trek Geeks, Bill and I are donating $1,000.
Oh,
you just made it, man. You just made it.
We made it. Rod, if you're listening, you may have thought, they're not going to call me in this. Well, we made it.
Oh, you guys, yay.
And I don't know, Jeri, this is the thing that's been so cool. When we said, hey, let's start asking people who want to do this, nobody said no. We thought we were going to get a few people. And in fact, we ended up like going from a 2-hour event to a 4-hour event to a 6-hour event to an 8-hour event. At a certain point, we said, we have to stop asking people. So it's been really thrilling for all of, I think, Star Trek fans and actors and producers and behind the scenes folk to come together today and get to say hi and get to celebrate not just the Hollywood Food Coalition, but all of the incredible work that so many of us are doing in our own ways in the community. We'll wrap up. And I adore you, Jeri Ryan. I really
adore you back.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here. We're going to do a rerun because, of course, we were on television. So we're going to show you one more video, which is a rerun of one you might not have seen earlier, which talks about our community exchange program. We collect 2 million pounds of food a year. We share it with almost 100 other not-for-profits to help buttress and augment their social service missions. That's the last video of the night. Then these two wacky gentlemen and I will reconvene and thank you a little bit more. And that will be the end of our first ever Star Trek streaming telethon. Whoosh.
Excellent.